Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Season 3 of TechRise. I am Desiree Vargas Wrigley, a two-time Latina and consumer founder here in Chicago. I am Chief Innovation Officer at P33 and Executive Director of TechRise. And for those of you unfamiliar with TechRise is a weekly pitch competition designed to support BIPOC and women founders all the way from idea stage to exit. We started it in partnership with Verizon 2 years ago. So we're on season 3, and we're so fortunate to have Verizon back today as a sponsor for our consumer category. A little bit more about TechRise, the way it works. Every week, 3 to 5 founders take the stage and they pitch their businesses for about 4 minutes. And then judges that are angel investors, VCs, sometimes aspiring investors, join us on stage and ask some questions. And then they go off and make the very difficult choice to decide who wins $25,000 in non-dilutive funding. Today, as I mentioned, we're focused on consumer, and I'm so excited to bring some of our amazing judges onto the stage. So first, we'll have Allison Lechner join us from Hyde Park Venture Partners. She's been at the firm since 2019, and prior to HPVP, Allison ran business operations for Civis Analytics, a Chicago-based data science software startup. She also co-founded Flag Analytics, a predictive analytics company focused on public safety, and spent her early career in healthcare consulting at Accenture. Allison, thanks so much for being here. Next, we have Danny DeLuigi. Danny is currently on the investment team at Lightbank, a venture capital firm based here in Chicago. Lightbank invests out of a $200 million fund and focuses on early stage technology opportunities. And prior to Lightbank, Danny was chief of staff at Felix, a B2B marketplace for the steel industry, and spent 6 years with GCM Grosvenor in their strategy and corporate development group, as well as their private equity investments group. Great to have you here, Danny. Thanks so much. And then last, we have Saya Nath. Saya is a partner at Jump and has spearheaded the new investment opportunity since 2020. Before Jump, she cut her teeth at Boston Consulting Group, where she contributed to the private equity practice. A University of Illinois graduate with a BS in computer engineering, she skillfully bridges technology and investment. She invests, her investments and interests include enterprise SaaS, AI tooling, workflow automation, and the future of work. And I'm hoping consumer today because you're in fintech too. All right. Great to have you all. Thanks for being here. And with that, we're going to get started with our first founder. We have Matthew Williams from Approachable. And I'll let you know when I can see your screen. All right, you look good to go.
All right, everybody can hear me?
Yep.
All right. What is more dangerous than smoking 15 cigarettes per day and a greater public health risk than obesity? Loneliness. In case you missed it, this year, Google searches for how to make friends and where to meet people both reached all-time highs. And the Search in General recently declared that we have now reached epidemic levels of loneliness in the US. It is harder than ever for adults to make meaningful connections that go beyond their phone screen. And that's especially true for Gen Z and millennials, where over 70% say they feel alone, and that on average they miss 34 experiences per year simply because that they lack the offline social network to share them with. And that's where Approachable comes in. We are closing this social companionship gap by offering the first platform that helps you find compatible people to join you for any experience that you don't want to do solo. Picture this. Monica finally wants to check out the new exhibits at the art museum, but the thought of going alone is holding her back. Maybe she's new in town and doesn't know anyone, or if the thought of going alone, is holding her back there. And the friends that she does have, they're either busy or they're uninterested. But with a few taps on our app, she can share what she wants to do, the time, the place, and even the kind of company she'd like, and we'll connect her with compatible individuals who want to join her. And the best part is that these experiences can be pre-planned or spontaneous. So even if she's sitting in a coffee shop and decides spur of the moment that she wants company right now, we can find a companion to join her on the spot. And we are the only platform that offers this today. Incumbents in this space either limit who can post Hangouts to community organizers or completely lack meetup coordination, so users rarely meet their matches offline. We originally launched Approachable as a Facebook group in April last year for women in Chicago, and we quickly grew to 5,000 members. It is now the second largest social group for women in Chicago, with over 1,200 Hangouts posted and an offline meetup rate of 31%, which is 30 times higher than that of our competition. Now, using what we learned last month, we launched the Approachable beta app, which already has a wait list of 1,000 users. We are post-revenue and currently monetized by selling tickets to experiences that we host and by allowing businesses to host their own experiences on our platform for a 20% fee. These are activities like cooking classes, candle making, private wine tastings, and other truly unique experiences tailored to helping our users make meaningful connections offline. In the next few months, we will also add a paid subscription where users can unlock premium features in the app. Our beachhead market in major U.S. cities alone is 10.7 million people, which is annually worth over $1.2 billion. And we estimate that by year 3, we will have 1 million users paying an average of $10 per month for a projected revenue of $127 million. Our team has over 30 years of experience building consumer-focused products, and we are second and third time founders selling from companies like PayPal, Ford, Uber, and Spotify. And if we win today, we'll be able to cover an additional 6 months of engineering expenses to make the app more robust, like introducing AI to improve user outcomes and streamline the experience. So with that, we hope that you will join us on our mission to help us end adult loneliness one Hangout at a time. Thank you.
Great job, Matt. Thank you. Judges, you want to join us on camera? And we're going to start with Allison.
Matt, nice job. How are you handling the safety aspect of the platform? Getting folks to meet up in person, people get worried about that.
Yeah, so for us right now, we are basically, for our beta, we've actually going through and selecting, approving each user individually. Right now, we are building verification features like KYC, right? So allowing users to kind of basically do selfie and picture up their ID, right, to get verified. We also do 2-factor authentication to cut down on fake accounts. So basically having you log in by using an active phone number and then sending back that code to cut down on any kind of like fake accounts being created there.
Danny.
Yeah, great presentation, Matt. Question on me, I would love to hear a little bit more about the revenue model. You know, you talked about the host fees, talk about the ticket revenue. How much is this costing the consumer today? And then how do your partnerships work with some local organizations, some local venues to bring some of your customers to their location?
Yeah, so experiences that we host, they can range anywhere from like $20 to $50 per person. For our hosted experiences, the ones by our partners, those range anywhere from $50 to $100. And so those are basically almost imagine like an Airbnb experiences, right? Where those hosts are able to post whatever they kind of want to do there. And then we're taking that 20% fee basically from whatever they are making on our platform. And that's separate from in the future how we also want to introduce an actual subscription for our users as well.
Hi.
Yeah, great job, Matt. I think you're targeting a really important problem. My question is, anytime you're creating some type of matchmaking application, there's a concern that eventually people will get what they want. So in this case, they'll meet a few people and then they'll go offline and there's no incentive to actually bring them back to the app. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, well, actually, that's the best thing, best and worst thing, I guess, about this loneliness pandemic. So when people are seeking companionship, there's actually never really an end to that need, right? You can have friends, but your friends can be busy. And so you are missing out on experiences that you want to do. And so you're right back where you were before, feeling lonely and isolated. And so basically, we see it as being more of a continuous issue that can be cyclical, where, you know, users will make niche friends for activities that they want to do. But then, you know, the next week, a new thing can happen where, you know, maybe the people who they met aren't available and they're back where they are again. back onto our platform. And that's where we see, that average of 34 experiences being missed by adults in their 20s and 30s. These people have friends today, but their friends are not available. And so this is how we see that problem.
We have time for some more questions.
Matt, you talked about matching with compatible people. How are you figuring out how to actually do that match and figure out that two people are compatible?
Yeah, so great question. So right now it's very basic. We just have interest in the platform, but how I mentioned earlier with the funding and us kind of fanning out that AI capabilities. Part of that is us building out our compatibility algorithms, right? So being able to match make basically on we see not only compatible interests, but people who you've met and have had things that you've done, different hangouts posted, right? We can basically see an entire graph really of how people that you've met, your interests, overlay with others. We also intend to start asking or doing weekly questions as well, kind of dive more into the user, understand their passions and their niche interests that way as well.
Perfect. Then that is a wrap. Matt, thank you so much. Great job. Thank you, judges. And next we're going to invite Ferrona Lee on with Near Technology. I am mind going video off. Thanks.
Perfect. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, sorry. All right. Well, good afternoon, morning, afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. I would love to start our pitch with a little bit of a story. So one day I was working, and then I got a text from my mom. How do you cancel McAfee subscription? And I was like, she's a MacBook user, so I'm 99% sure she doesn't have McAfee. I ignored her, got back to work. And then I got another text message. On the phone with their tech support, what's my laptop password? And I was like, oh my God, she is scammed. I said, don't give out anything, just hang up now. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if something similar had happened to you or your loved ones. Because once retired, older adults are more vulnerable to scams due to their lack of exposure as well as practice in identifying scams. With nowhere to turn to, a lot of them get frustrated and consequently feel disempowered and fearful when using technology. But I really don't want our parents to feel like this. Living 10,000 miles away, our family relies on technology to stay connected, and these scams and tech support calls should not get in the way. Hi, everyone. My name is Ferrona, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Near Technology. We offer personalized tech education for adults 55 plus so they can safely and confidently connect with their loved ones on things that matter. And the timing of our company could not have been more perfect because 11,000 Americans enter the retirement age every single day. And by targeting the ones who are living in the city and still active, we're looking at a market opportunity of $2.2 billion. So how do you do this? Our product is simple. It's tech education at your fingertips. So people first got into our ecosystem by signing up for our weekly scam alerts that feature one popular scam a week and tell them how to spot them and how to stay safe. And this repeated exposure is crucial in helping them build intuition on how to spot the fakes from the real ones. And then they sign up for a private tutoring if they need a more personalized education. What sets us apart is our unique staffing. So we hire actually social workers and teachers and optimize on communication skills as well as relationship building with our clients as opposed to technical skills. And the business model is pretty simple as well. It's freemium, where the weekly scam alerts is always going to be free. And the premium subscription gives them a discounted rate for the private coaching, as well as more access to other educational materials. Our beachhead go-to-market strategy is to partner with retirement communities as well as local organizations by giving them in-person tech workshops. And each of this event give us 4 private coaching signups on the spot and very engaged subscribers, and 80% of them sign up for the weekly scam alerts. Thus far, we have nearly 500 subscribers and 30 paying members and have administered over 250 private coaching and that yield to about 37,000 in revenue in 2022, which is within our first year in business, all through word of mouth and organic growth. And if you still need convincing, hear a little bit more from the customers that have loved us so far. They came to our TechStars demo day and gave us gleaming reviews. And most importantly, you can actually see some of them on our cap table too. And so we're truly just getting started though, because our vision is to empower people to remain independent and productive as they age. So we're now here building trust and credibility and community locally in Chicago. To scale, we are going to diversify the teaching methods that includes online learning as well as on-demand courses. And in the future, we'll diversify the topics to include upskilling as well as on-retirement planning. So I'm happy to talk about the details of our milestones during the Q&A, but right now let's take a look at our competitive landscape. So by focusing on teaching as opposed to fixing, we're setting ourselves far apart from the big players such as Geek Squad. And the strong community that we're building in Chicago differentiate us from the other emerging startups that are popping up in this industry as well. We're raising our pre-seed, but right now, what I would like to focus on is how we're going to actually use our TechRise gift. So 100% of the funds is going to be utilized for customer acquisition. This fund is going to enable us to reach 40% of our target goal of having 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, which will have a projected revenue of $85,000. And lastly, this is our small team. I'm joined by Margaret, who has a social work degree, and Mark, who has 25 years of advertising for Medicare. And
okay, I'm gonna cut you off so you can cover the team in the Q&A because we are over on time. So judges, if you want to join us, and Danny, can you kick us off?
Let's stop sharing.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ferrona. My question around the content creation, like who's creating the content today? How many classes are currently available? And what does the scaling efforts look like to get to some of those milestones that you mentioned in your presentation?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So we are creating our own content right now, and we have 3 classes that are currently live and that we just launched this month and have generated $500 in revenue. And so all these classes are going to be these are live classes, and all of them are going to be recorded and available on demand for people to access further on and purchase at a cheaper fee.
If I can just have one quick follow-up there. How long are the classes?
They are weekly and an hour and a half each on Zoom.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I've gotten similar phone calls from my parents, so the problem resonates. But my question is, calling your kids or your friend is free, and I know you have a freemium model, but why do you believe that people will be willing to pay for the other tiers?
Yes, because they do not want to be a burden to whoever they're calling. And so right now, what we have witnessed so far is that typically they reach out after hours, if not days, of trying to solve the problem themselves. And in most cases, they do have adult children to reach out to, but they either far or have other responsibilities, so they don't want to reach out to them. And so once they know that we are available, especially in Chicago, they call us for that reason.
Allison.
Nice job. I'd love to talk about the supply side. How are you recruiting the teachers? And related, and I guess I'm fitting 2 questions into one, what are the unit economics of that? How much are they getting paid for their services?
Right, great question. So the first one that I'm going to say is we have a partnership right now with a social work school. It is currently just a good relationship that we maintain with Loyola because of one of my co-founders from there. But a hack that we have found is that social work students are required to work during their study for 2 to 3 full-time days. And so once we have, one of our co-founders is currently getting her licensure. Once she is licensed, we can partner with the school directly so that all the students can spend that 2 to 3 days working for the company. And the unit economics right now is we're paying them $25 an hour. We have a margin of 30%, but we're raising our prices next month to actually have a healthier margin of 40%.
We have time for one more quick one.
You've talked about community a couple times in Chicago. Can you expand on that? Like, why does this need to be local folks?
Yes, so they have, understandably, a lot of them are very wary with new companies because they get scammed quite often, this demographic. And so having us come in person that build trust effectively. And then second of all, what we encourage them to do is to actually forward all of the suspicious emails that they get. And we actually feature them in the weekly scam alerts. So they feel that they're also helping either their fellow residents in a retirement community or someone in their community locally by kind of engaging us as a company that way.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Ferrona. And as a daughter who just received a message from my dad in Costa Rica about not connecting to the internet from his phone, I very much appreciate this service. So great job. And next, we're going to invite DC Crenshaw with Little Diners Crew. Hey, DC.
Hey.
All right, we can see your slides.
Right. Can you see?
We can. Yep, you're good to go.
All right. All right. Hi, I'm DC Crenshaw, and I'm the co-founder of Little Diners Crew and CrewFood. Little Diners Crew is a dining club for kids and teens, and the whole idea is to expand their palates beyond mac and cheese and chicken fingers. And we do that by hosting unique, fun, cultural food experiences at a different restaurant every month. We know that parents have a tough time getting their kids to try new foods, and restaurants offer the same standard kids menu of mac and cheese and chicken fingers, and kids become picky eaters, and over time that extends into their adult lifehood. Little Diners Crew allows kids to travel the world through food. They get a chance to taste and rate different dishes, learn how food is made, where ingredients come from. We even launched a food delivery platform that expands palates at home. Since we launched, we have over 160 members, hundreds of non-members. We actually hosted over 60 experiences at some of the best restaurants in the city. We have a nice social media following, a vast direct email database, and we've grossed nearly $100,000. Recently, we partnered with Uber Eats to launch CrewFood. And CrewFood is the Uber Eats for families that features a curated list of restaurants and dishes that have been kid tested and kid approved that makes it easier for parents to order food their entire family is going to love. Currently, we have 8 restaurants on board, and these are restaurants that we previously hosted events at where kids have actually tasted and rated each dish. So we know that kids are going to love the menu. We're different because we've already done homework for parents. We made it easier for them to order food and not waste their money that kids may not like when they're ordering in food. Kids can actually order from CrewFood as well and can track their culinary journey. We make our money through memberships, events and sponsorships, and through CrewFood. And if we're looking at addressable markets, the first one is the family dining out market. What stands out here are the millions of millennial parents that dine out at least once a week. They spend twice as much as the average consumer when dining out. And teens and tweens are actually getting the business of dining out and spending their money there. We know parents want to go out and get their kids to try new foods that they may not have at home. Now, the food delivery market is absolutely huge. We expect it to expand to about $365 billion in 2030. Parents are utilizing food apps every day to feed their families more and more. Millennials here are 3 times as likely to order food delivery than their parents. And so that's another market that we feel we can tap into. We know we can scale CrewFood on Uber Eats, but we also envision partnering with other food delivery services or developing our own app. We feel we can tap into that multi-billion-dollar family dining out market. You know, when it comes to competition, we know we're uniquely positioned. No one is expanding palates like we are, or through online events or through CrewFood. We've tested it. Kids love it. Parents love it. Restaurants love it. Now is the time because parents are trying to feed their younger kids more food and different cuisines. Parents are dining out more. Teens are becoming more foodies. Restaurants are trying to reach more families inside and outside the restaurant. And we have the experience because we've done it. We're seeking parents that want food experiences, cultural experiences, restaurants that are looking to reach more families, parents that are dining out. We want to go to other big cities and also target exclusive hotels and resorts. My wife and I are co-founders, and we're the parents of 2 amazing boys. We utilize our food and lifestyle background to really tap into and stay in tune with what kids need, what parents want, and what restaurants like. If we get the money, we're going to use it to reach more parents and add more restaurants to CrewFood. We know that every time parents learn about us and utilize us, they love us. We also want to develop our own mobile app to reach more parents and make it easier for them to access our services. We're positioned to test 2 new markets, and we have strong partnerships. One is in Brooklyn, New York, and one is at a resort in Zihuatanejo. So the next question is, who wants to join our crew and help turn picky eaters into little foodies?
Great job, DC. All right, judges, sorry, you're going to start, please.
Well, nice job, DC. My question is for CrewFood. How are you actually creating these curated menus? Where are you getting the information? What's the criteria? All of that.
So what's great about that, we've already hosted 60 events. So we're going back to the restaurants where we've already had the data from the kids that actually rated each dish, and we're putting those dishes onto the menu. Also, if there are other dishes that we did not test, we have our own little crew that actually taste and rate those dishes. So every dish on there has been kid tested and kid rated.
Great. Allison.
Nice job. My question is, why should this be a separate app versus a feature that's a part of Uber Eats, where I go on an Uber Eats menu and it says these 3 things on our menu are kid approved?
Well, it's not separate from Uber Eats. It is on the Uber Eats menu. So what actually happens if you actually go into Uber Eats and you type in CrewFood, up will pop our restaurants with all our dishes on there. So there's a CrewFood list of restaurants and dishes, and then there's Uber Eats. We're talking about a separate app where it makes it easier for parents that download Little Diners Crew app so they can actually access the CrewFood app and other services that we offer.
Danny.
Awesome. Enjoy the presentation, DC. I definitely have a few friends who are picky eaters that I think they would have benefited from something like this early on. Maybe they'd be more adventurous today. Question related to Allison's, because you're mentioning that this app is something separate than Grubhub and Caviar, et cetera, or you at least want it to be there. Can you talk about the logistics that would need to take place to sort of execute this in a city? Are you having one location where all the restaurants are bringing sort of the meals to make it easier for your delivery drivers? And sort of how is the logistics going to work in the city once this app is launched?
There's no new logistics setup. Everything happens through Uber Eats normally. So if you order through Uber Eats, there's no new logistics. Everything, they go to the restaurant, they order the food, they know it's from CrewFood, and they basically deliver it. So basically, we got Uber Eats to test our concept for free, and we're generating revenue from that. We don't have to do anything about any separate logistics at all.
We have time for another question. Or Allison, go for it. Go on. Whoever has one, go. Go
ahead, Allison.
Well, now I'm hungry. Can you give me an example of a restaurant and a dish that's CrewFood's approved?
Absolutely. So we have Avli. If you've eaten Greek food on there, they have these things called, they have the meatballs, they have the zucchini chips. We have some of the gyros. They have these chicken bowls that were new that our kids tested and rated each dish. We didn't put all of them on there. We put the ones that they liked. I forget the other couple of dishes, but obviously there's only certain dishes that can be delivered that will arrive at your door nice and warm. Also go to Bargola. They got some unbelievable dishes on there. They got the rice and it's really good.
Sorry, do you have a fast one?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly expand on the revenue model. So how are you actually planning on making money?
Yes. On CrewFood or on the whole business?
The whole business.
Yeah. So we already make money on memberships. We have an annual and monthly memberships that we make. We also make money when we host different events. There's a membership fee, there's a non-membership fee, and there's an adult fee. And then the CrewFood, obviously, we take a percentage of each order. If they order online through our website, we get 10%. If they order through the app, we get 5%.
Okay, we're at time, but I will say DC and his team were on Parachute and they had massive rebookings, like 75%. So it is definitely a business model parents love. So congrats, DC.
Thank you.
All right, we will next welcome onto the stage Jess Ames Pappalardo from International Cafe. We can see it. Oh, but you're muted.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Desiree.
Sure. And Allison, I'm going to have you go video off real quick.
Thank you. I would love for all of you to imagine yourselves walking into your favorite eclectic cafe. You see a table with people you know and some you don't. You sit down, introduce yourself, and dive right in to philosophize about love, life, and the pursuit of happiness. What if these 3 hours of socializing could lead you to 20% increased salary potential, reduced risk of dementia, and finally achieving one of your lifelong goals, to learn that other language? There are 1.6 billion people continually trying to learn a foreign language globally, and 3.3 billion trying to retain proficiency while living among another dominant language. Most are struggling to maintain the 10,000 hours needed for a lifetime of fluency. So how are these 4.9 billion language lovers going to find opportunities to increase their social and economic mobility in fun-loving ways? Make language learning a lifestyle. International Cafe is a community app and language-specific social media aggregate, enabling speakers and signers of all levels to spend their 17+ weekly social hours immersed in the languages of their choice. So let's say your friend invites you to an event where you can practice your Arabic in a local watering hole. You reluctantly go, nervous because you forgot everything you learned from study abroad 5 years ago. Fast forward, you have a killer time and you're excited to stay connected with your new Arabic speaking friends. They pull out their International Cafe app to share profile links. Once you're in the virtual cafe, you're able to join one-on-one and group chats in your target languages, scroll language immersive social media feeds, and stay up to date on all of the Language Cafe events your peers are hosting in fun neighborhoods around town. Fun fact, Gen Z is expected to lead the language learning market to 191 billion by 2028. Current players are seeing a median of 4.5 million user visits a month. So our revenue mix from now to 2025 focuses on digital ads and sponsorships. By 2027, we see embedded peer-to-peer rewards playing a major role in how we get to our $1 billion goal. Our product is built on social proof. Our weekly events consistently reach full capacity, and our opt-in memberships are 7,000 strong, all from word of mouth alone. We've won 6 sponsorships over the last 6 months, local and abroad. Today, we have our first international collaboration in Madrid, Spain at NFREX Language School. Check out our social media to see the students do a takeover. The current market shapes include gamified vocabulary apps, tutoring marketplaces, language schools, and academic courses. Churn rates plague these competitors because they fail to capitalize on the core reason why their users are trying to learn a new language: to build relationships. It is our unique approach to multilingual networking that keeps our following coming back to engage time and time again. International Cafe has many benefits, one of them being a community comprised of hyper-intelligent professionals who like to let loose once in a while. Our team is built from this community. Between us, we have over 8 languages represented and countless hours of differentiated domain expertise. TechRise's contribution will allow us to add the embedded tip feature to our product, conduct user testing, and launch. As a result, we will be able to begin onboarding the currently decentralized language exchange communities worldwide. So we would love it if you would join us as we build the social gathering space for 4.9 billion language lovers as they expand their social and economic mobility with the support and help of a community of cultured friends. The world truly is our oyster. Thank you.
Great job, Jess. All right, we are going to start with Allison.
Nice job, Jess. Can you talk about how you are acquiring users, and in particular, how do you acquire users that are trying to learn the same language? Because obviously, if I'm learning Spanish, getting introduced to someone learning Arabic doesn't do me quite as much good.
Sure. So this is really an interesting thing that's happening worldwide already and has been happening for a long time. There are these events called language cafes, and they happen in major cities worldwide. I'm not programming them. People all over the world are programming them, and they are decentralized. There's no place for people to there's no overarching brand. There's no, fun online space that's kind of celebrating these people and these events. And what we've found in our research is that when people when these events host all languages, like all languages are welcome, the numbers are really big for the event. So our local events draw 200 people. Sometimes we can't find space big enough for as many people as come. And so, each table has its own language. So yeah, so it's something about this kind of coming all together that is really enticing for people. And as I said, it's happening already.
Danny.
Hey, Jess, cool presentation, awesome idea. Question for you. I wonder if can you elaborate a little bit more on your background, sort of why you are why the passion to start this, and then why you're the right founder to scale this business?
Yes, so I have been doing intercultural event programming for the better part of 15 years. And when I came across this particular model, I was really amazed. I was actually in the process of creating a different product that was for intercultural connection through travel. And I was going to use this as my go-to-market strategy. But as I grew to experience this and understand it, it became really clear that this is like a laser-focused opportunity that's really big and that is really exciting. So I scrapped the old idea and I'm full bore on this one.
Bye.
Yeah, so maybe just a clarification question to start on the product. Is this really about facilitating connections between people who are already learning a language elsewhere, or are you also embedding the actual learning in the product itself?
So, there's the connecting these people to these events that are already happening worldwide is one side of it. And that's kind of how we see our user acquisition really growing. But we also have this feature where you can immerse yourself through social media. So we actually aggregate, like, let's say Spanish, we have a Spanish table on the app or an Arabic table on the app, and you can completely immerse yourself through social media and with this language. So as a person who has 2 kids, and I think about how much time they're going to be spending on social media, if they're using those hours to, learn Arabic or Spanish, for example, I'll feel a lot better about that because I know, the rewards for that. So that's the side that allows anybody to do it, no matter where they are.
We do have time for one more quick question. If there's one.
One more clarifying point on my end. Is the product live today? And then also, what does the app look like today? You mentioned launch. What needs to happen before official launch?
Yeah, so right now we're actually developing it because we sort of pivoted into this concept really recently. So we're developing the app in Flutter, and we will be able to. So it's like in development right now. So that this money will actually help us shore it up and have the embedded finance model, which is really scalable. So we're not going to do event fees or memberships at all. We're going to allow people to gift each other for the labor of this kind of cultural exchange. So we're working on that.
I have to cut us off. I'm sorry, but great job, Jess. And thank you, judges, for some great questions. And we're going to welcome our last competitor to the stage. We have Jourdan Brunson from Kinkofa. All right, looks good.
$47 million Black folks don't have access to their family history. That's 1 out of every 7 Americans. Black families were intentionally separated, our histories hidden and scattered. Despite this, the search for our kinfolk began many generations ago and continues today. But the current solutions aren't cutting it. The process right now looks just like this, Frankenstein and tools like Ancestry, GEDmatch, and 23andMe together that are collectively one size fits none. This leads to endless searching and keeps us from knowing things like family health history and unearthing the stories that help us make sense of who we are today. Still, African Americans are spending over $3 billion a year in search of family history and have driven national collective interest and demand for genealogy projects.
Oh, we got a short delay. Hopefully he's coming back. We'll give him more time.
Hi, I'm Jourdan, co-founder of Kinkofa, and we've made it our mission to help Black folks go get their kin literally. We make it easier than ever for Black folks to record, preserve, and tell unique family stories. Kinkofa is the only digital platform intentionally designed to reconnect Black families. Subscribers can do things like go multiplayer and collaborate with relatives on family tree building in real time, plan and organize research to reach goals faster, connect with DNA matches and explore shared ancestry, and preserve family stories for generations to come with AI-enabled tools. We're taking the process from chaotic and siloed to collaborative and fun. And now with Kinkofa, members like Nay are already overcoming the challenges that many Black Americans face when it comes to seeking their roots. In just 3 weeks, Kinkofa helped Nay overcome a 4-year brick wall and trace her family back to 1840. And now we're already starting to see epic results like this. We've unlocked over 32,000 reconnections and counting by piloting our DNA database. And through partnerships, we're enabling reconnections at scale. Our campaign with Higher Ground and Descendant received national attention for the Netflix release of the film Descendant. It featured the Obamas, received a shout out on the Kelly Clarkson Show, and in just 1 week reached over 4 million people. Over the next 12 months, we're gearing up to acquire 10,000 users through more partnerships, exclusive content, and virtual and in-person experiences. Now, contrary to what our parents told us, money does grow on trees at Kinkofa. With a monthly subscription, members get access to a one-stop shop to record and preserve Black family history. And our newly launched Roots Discovery Kit uses DNA to reconnect members to their ancestors, reveal lost lineages, and more. An opportunity like this requires a dope team with the empathy of a shared experience. So my co-founder and I met on Clubhouse, connected over our combined 20-year journey to reclaim our own family histories, and later learned by piloting our DNA database that we are actually long-lost cousins. Misha and I have over 2 decades of experience both building and founding consumer startups, and we're supported by an amazing team of advisors and accelerated networks. Today's prize supports the mission to reconnect Black families as we continue improving Kinkofa's user experience to drive user acquisition and run experiments to scale to 500,000 reconnections. Thank you so much, and we look forward to connecting with you.
Great job, Jourdan. All right, Danny, you want to kick us off?
Hey, Jourdan, great presentation. Wondering if you can elaborate a little bit on how the product works. You mentioned the collaboration point, you mentioned the DNA. Is scale necessary for this to build the database and for this to essentially work at a higher level than some of the existing players in the marketplace are operating?
That's a great question. So a few differentiations between Kinkofa and other players in the market. The first thing we do when we onboard folks is learn a little bit about their goals. Maybe you're an adoptee who wants to learn more about biological relatives, or maybe you're helping a family member to build out their family tree. So capturing that helps us kind of lay out a game plan for the things that you want to accomplish, and also connect you to folks on the platform who can help you in accomplishing that goal. So in the short term, that does kind of eliminate some of the need for scale to get value. You can get value from folks who have the information you need. And that also kind of creates a flywheel for us to eventually get to scale. Family history is inherently pretty collaborative, so it allows you to bring on relatives and other folks who can help you reach the end goal.
Yeah, great job. And so just a question on how genealogy typically works. Typically people go to ancestry.com, et cetera, because they want to answer a very specific question about themselves. And so I asked a similar question earlier, but how are you thinking about continuing to keep people engaged? I know you have some record keeping stuff, but maybe with your existing users, how are you seeing people continue to engage with the platform after they, maybe reconnect with someone?
Yeah, great question. So one, family history is a pretty long journey for many, but also because of legacy players, it ends up getting cut short prematurely. So in continuing to kind of capture goals and connect folks to others on the platform, what we've seen take place in community building is that those people who kind of come on not knowing much about either research or about their own family history become the influencers over time. They learn a little bit about, the tips and tricks of family history research and become the teachers to others in the community. But we also have an extended kind of life cycle through things like connection to heritage travel or our DNA tests, which can allow you to both learn about your cultural heritage, but also maybe do things like order very culturally relevant products based on your DNA results, or learn more about health outcomes. So there is kind of like an extended journey through family history and ultimately through Black history as well, and the discovery of that sort of information.
Awesome.
Nice job. Genealogy, which I've tried a little bit myself, is sort of like a data puzzle that you're putting together, trying to link different pieces of the past. So given that, and certainly American data has failed, does not adequately support Black Americans. So are there opportunities for unique data sources or unique data accounts that you can use to enable Black folks' journey through genealogy better?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and also a follow-up to the previous question. We're also not just focused on data from the past, but also creating new data sets. So we actually have a closed beta oral history recording tool, which allows folks to kind of record the history that they know, be it something from way in the past or something present day, like a living present day memory. Capturing that sort of data is huge in differentiating us in the market, where our competitors aren't necessarily thinking about the present. They're thinking about, the census from 200 years ago. In addition to that, we are focused on acquiring records that are specifically relevant to Black folks. So thinking about, magazines like Ebony and Jet, or Black newspapers, photo collections that are really culturally relevant and don't live anywhere else in the genealogy space.
Sorry, I got muted. I couldn't get off. We're pretty much right at time, but Jourdan, do you have any parting words before we let the judges go make that hard decision?
Thank you so much for your time and great questions. We also just launched our DNA kit pre-orders and are seeing lots of success there. So just for your knowledge and for everyone who's watching.
Great job, Jourdan, and great job to all of the founders today. I love consumer, as I've mentioned, and I especially love it because it brings people together in real life and virtually. And I think the founders today really demonstrated that. So judges, I'm sorry that you have the very difficult job to decide who's going to win $25,000, but I'm going to send you off over with Stephen from Verizon, and I'm going to welcome on our guest speaker while you guys deliberate. So see you soon. All right, Avish, we're thrilled to have you on the stage, back on the stage, right? You've been on before?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's a repeat. It's kind of wild being on as a guest speaker because I was here literally last year, where Flora won the TechRise competition. So kind of come full circle. I'm super grateful.
Well, and I've seen you pitch a couple of times, so sometimes I forget if I saw you this way or in real life, but I'm so glad that you're back, and congrats on winning. We can't wait to hear the update. But for those of you who are meeting Avish for the first time, the FloraPod is a pocket-sized sensor that helps you care for your plants. He's also the winner of last year's TechRise. I should have read this before. I knew that you were, but then I was afraid I was going to get it wrong. And it was exactly 1 year ago for consumer. So it's good that we have that full cycle. You're right. So we want to update us a little bit on what's happened in the last year since you were on.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I was writing some notes down on everything that's passed. And, it's funny because I was checking out the pitch deck that I presented last year on, what are we going to accomplish with all this stuff? And, as a founder, you have no clue what's going to happen. It's sort of a roller coaster ride with no sort of destination map. And I'm proud to say that since last year, we've successfully kicked off our Kickstarter. So we raised around $60,000, way beyond what we were imagining. Just as of October this last year, we fully deployed 1,200 FloraPods and pivoted actually quite a bit. I think last time I pitched, there was a huge focus on the hardware and the pods. And what we realized is that people love the app. We've grown to over 215,000 registered users now. There's a strong emphasis on community and the gamification that we built out in the app. And the FloraPod, we've realized, pardon the puns, there's going to be a lot of unrelated to plants through this, but it's kind of like a Venus flytrap. It acts as this really sticky mechanism where people see the device, they want to gift it to other people. They see that it can help save their plants. And really, we keep them in our ecosystem with all the value that we offer through the app and the subscription. So definitely pivoted quite a bit since last year. But yeah, we've grown, and thanks to TechRise's the funding, it allowed us to kind of make those pivots in the first place.
I think we touched on several things that are near and dear to me. One of them is that I am a plant mom. I'm also a human mom, but and it's such an interesting connection that you have with your plants because you feel such a sense of accomplishment when they grow, and when they don't, you feel like you're really letting them down. So I can imagine how this is an addictive, especially as we spend so much more time in our home and the move towards beautifying our interior and exterior. I'm curious, does it work for both inside and outside, or is it mostly for indoor plants?
It's mostly for indoor, as people have been, about 90% of the plants on our platform are indoor plants or indoor house plants, but it can be used for outdoor plants as well. So the FloraPod is weatherproof, rated to a certain extent. So you can leave it outside for 3 to 4 months. And on a single 2-hour charge, it can withstand rainstorms, it can withstand all the dirt. So people have been using it for tomatoes, raised garden beds. Whether it can withstand Chicago winters is a whole nother experience. So haven't tested that just yet, but yeah.
most of my plants don't withstand that, so it's okay. So it's more of a,
Right.
a renewal every year. But the
Yeah.
other thing you talked about was crowdfunding, and
Mhm.
consumer is a notoriously hard category to fundraise for. And I hope you don't mind, I'm going off script as I always do.
All good.
But
All good.
as a consumer founder who built my first business as a crowdfunding platform, I know what a critical resource that is. And actually, we used Republic for Parachute, my second company. So I'm wondering if you would spend a couple of minutes about that decision, because often VCs say that at least historically, there's some negative optics around crowdfunding. Like it implies that you can't raise around. And I personally feel like when you're a consumer business and you can demonstrate that consumers want to pre-purchase your products before you've had any outgoing expenses, that it's actually a really good indicator. So can you tell us a little bit about how you feel about that philosophically and what made you?
Yeah, no, I have a lot of thoughts about that. I'm with you 100%. I think it's frankly really silly when investors have some sort of, chip on their shoulder about someone going out there and validating the market themselves. I think it more so lends to a founder being scrappy and doing whatever they have to validate, the product and the company and the mission they're building out. For us, it was exactly that. Philosophically, I knew that the investors and the people that would stick with us through the crowdfunding and wouldn't, turn their head the other way, would realize that value and would stick with us. And that's exactly what happened. In October, we had a few investors that really weren't about it. We were in the initial kind of throes in those investor conversations, but the people that knew that we were going to be successful, that we were building it out for all the right reasons, stuck with us. And they actually reinvested down the line once we proved out, hey, look, like we were aiming to raise 10K. We ended up, with more than 65K and an additional revenue from subscriptions even after that. And the number one tip I have for founders going into it is, it does take upfront work. I wouldn't expect to just start a crowdfunding campaign hoping to kind of reach your audiences and raise the amount just from a gut feeling. There is a lot of work that you got to put into it to make sure, it is sort of a marketing return on investment, right? You spend an X amount on all the stuff that goes into the marketing materials, the spend, the actual campaign, and then you just got to do the math for yourself to make sure it works out for your company, and it did for us. But definitely some upfront work required. But I'm all about crowdfunding, all about it.
Yeah, I completely agree, and it does have its own sales process. It's distinct from an investment sales process, and so not all founders are cut out to do it. And it's about creating momentum around your campaign, as you obviously did. So congrats on having a successful one. Something you said about investors not really getting it. Often in consumer, we're solving a problem for an audience that's very far outside of the traditional older white male. And I can imagine, like me for Parachute, most of them had never written a ballet check or, stood in line with a, printed out copy of the registration for summer camp. So they just didn't get what we were building. So how do you, as a founder, think about overcoming that? Or should we overcome it? Should we just move on? What do you think?
Yeah, it's one of the toughest things, especially early on, right? Because I think it's easy to be like, screw all the investors that don't get it. I'm going to just stick to the people that But early on, it's all about getting to those quick yeses and wins as much as you can and as quickly as possible. And I'm still facing it, right? Like early on, we wanted to find the investors that kind of believed in our vision and the product. And, there is a downside in that, not only Chicago, but the Midwest, there's a certain focus on B2B. There's certain focuses on specific industries. I think consumer has finally been, on the rise and exploding over the last couple of years in Chicago, but there's definitely, I want to say again, kind of, biased here, but there is a bias almost against consumer unless you fall into certain molds. In my case, I found that getting to know quicker with investors has always been better than, dragging along yeses and investors that are like, oh, this is super interesting, or this is such a cool product, or this, I can see why this is, alleviating a pain. Those investors, the ones that drag their feet, always ended up, leading to no's. The ones that were, some of the ones that got to immediate no's quicker, I found that reconnecting with them down the line ended up in investments that ended up surprising us, right? So, your time as a founder is super valuable. You're going to be talking to all sorts of investors, some that won't have a focus on consumer. And I think it's really important to realize, like, the ones that get it, you'll just have a gut feeling and a gut instinct of, are they going to actually hop on board, or are they just all talk and, all interest and no investment down the line, right? But it is difficult. I empathize with early founders, especially consumer founders, because you're just trying to get the funding that you need to actually build your product and your services. So it can be a really tough game of straggling, those lines between those investors.
Yeah, completely. We talk a lot about pattern recognition when it comes to VCs looking at founders. I'm curious if you've if you've had any reverse pattern recognition, like, are there any common threads among the people who said, yes, we love this product, we love this business, we love you?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think one of the ones is like yourself, a lot of them are plant parents. So, right away within the first minute, if they get it, it's a totally different conversation, from there where they know that pain point of losing a plant. They know that pain point of having been gifted a plant or trying to get into this hobby that they've wanted to their entire lifetimes. And with that commonality of like, they get the drive, they get the mission, it just becomes an easier conversation versus convincing a VC about the TAM, the market, the numbers, the traction, whole different conversation versus, let's talk about what we're actually trying to achieve and then slowly unravel the numbers and all the metrics behind it. So that's definitely been one of the patterns that I look for is there a match in terms of the actual mission, the vision? Have they invested in similar consumer companies in their portfolio in the past? Have they invested recently in the last year or two? Is another metric and a pattern match that we've been looking for because a lot of the VCs we end up speaking to, and this was after the fact, a tough lesson learned, you realize, oh, most of their investments have been B2B, B2B SaaS, or health tech, or this, and that. And you realize like they want to dabble in consumer, but, they might not line up with where you're at, with the vision or mission that you're kind of creating. So those are some of the things we've kind of learned along the way with what to look for. Yeah.
I completely agree. And I think, especially when you're doing it for the first time, there's such an appeal to just going on Google and saying, top pre-seed founders in the world. And then you get this list of firms. And sometimes you get a list of partners and you almost like do the wrong thing where you go firm first and then try to see through the partners, which one's going to be the best fit, and then try to get that meeting. And, we now advise founders very differently to go through tools like Signal or Crunchbase to see, similar investments, but non-competitive, right? Analogous business models and things like that to go really find your true matches. Have you figured out any kind of unlocks for that?
Signal has been fantastic. I totally agree. I think, figuring out what their specific investments have been over the last year and just frankly asking them up front, right? Like, I think there's a certain bias as a founder to be super excited and give them all the information, have them ask you questions. And so we tend to be reactive when it comes to those investor conversations. And something that I've really started leaning on over the last couple of months and last year has been asking these investors and making it a 2-part interview versus just them us having to pitch them. It's really a 2-way conversation, right? A lot of these investors, they're going to take up your cap table, they're going to take up your time, your resources. If you're down the line, once you're successful, what additional weight do they actually bring to the table? So you should be able to ask things like, have you made any recent investments in the last 3 months in this space? Can you talk to me more about what you guys actually do once you invest in, a company similar to ours? So I think, recent unlock has just been pushing on the investors a bit more, asking them questions that you might not find in a Signal or a Crunchbase or a portfolio or a simple Google search. Even as soon as the first meeting or the first follow-up, not being afraid to kind of, bring their weight to the table and bring their value to the table, so to speak.
It's so true. And, as I moved over to the other side of the table now, investing more and mostly investing candidly in consumer companies still, I've realized that there's an opportunity that we as founders sometimes miss, and that is, it's not an interview and it's not a dialogue. It actually is an opportunity for us to have a real conversation as two humans about what are we interested in and why do we have a common interest in this problem to be solved? Who else is solving it? And I actually think you can get investors to think about almost crafting the solution alongside you as you're pitching when you lead conversations that way. So Thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry for the little mental lag at first, but I'm totally happy for your success and excited that you are back, and can't wait to put my plants on it. I'm sorry that I'm also lagging as a customer, so I will be on soon.
I'll send you a discount. I love it. No problem. Thanks for having me.
Well, so it looks like the judges are back with an exciting announcement. So founders, come join us back on camera. And who is announcing the winner today? Allison. Okay. Once we get everyone on, looks like we have them. So without further ado.
Yeah, absolutely. So we thought everybody did a great job today. You're all working on really interesting problems and really interesting businesses. So nice job to everybody. That said, I do have kind of a winner. I will say in second place, really impressed with Responsive. We think that you're solving a really critical issue for a lot of lonely folks who want to do stuff. And then in second place, or in first place, is Jourdan with Kinkofa. So really nice job. We love what you're doing.
Congratulations, Jourdan. And just to clarify, Approachable got second?
Yes, Approachable. I'm not sure why I called it responsive.
That's okay. You see a lot of deals all the time, so I'm sure that's what happened. But
I'm so sorry. Approachable got second. Nice job.
Yeah, great. Well, just a reminder that second matters because it puts you in the running for the grand finale for $100,000 prize. Other founders, when you come back and you get first or second, you're also going to be in the running for that. So great job to all of our founders. Congratulations, Jourdan. I don't know if you had a word or two you wanted to say, but.
Thank you all so much. And great job, everyone. I loved everyone's pitches and everyone's business.
Yeah, it was great. It made me feel way less isolated, which is what great apps do. So thank you for being here. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you to Verizon and to Stephen, as always, for being our sponsors and our thought partners and partners in all of this work. And we will see you all next week.